So this week I got this. I have wanted this for a long time. Weirdly, D&D's website says this was released on St. Patrick's Day, or Paddy's Day, not Paddy's Day, 2022, but anyway, this came out 3 years ago. I saw the dice, thought they were nice, and really kind of kept myself from looking too much further into it, because I love surprises. Before I get into this further, I do want to put a little content warning in here. This story contains manipulation and enslavement and implied other stuff. You have been warned. Laeral Silverhand was born an Emmanue Silverhand, a daughter to Dornell and Elue Silverhand. Laeral has 6 sisters. She's the 5th, and one of her sisters is not human, but a drow. They're all quite adept at magic because it's in their blood. And I don't mean that literally, of course, but they are born of magic. See, Elue and Dornell were vessels through which the goddess Mystra bore her children, and the results of which is Laeral, her sisters, and some of the coolest stories in the Forgotten Realms, but we will focus on Laeral here for now. Mystra possessed Elue and married Dornell and had her children, and the reasoning behind this is muddy at best, though I will give what is seen as the best guess. At the time of the Dale Reckoning, which I will talk about at some point, Mystra realised that her power, though immense and strong, was not infinite. Apparently she foresaw the time of Troubles, which was a chaotic period in Forgotten Realms history where magic was iffy. So she decided to imbue some beings with her power, allowing them to utilise it and to become essentially immortal, but with their permission call on that power should she ever need it. These individuals were known as the Chosen of Mystra, which is another video we will do in the future because they are very, very cool. This amplified her power a great deal and also acted as a font of healing should she ever need it. For the most part, these early Chosen were great, but improvements could be made, and so she improved on it by imbuing individuals at birth, allowing their powers to grow as they did. So in 761 DR, her first child Illustriel was born, and then 4 years later, in 765, as the 5th child, we have Laeral. So anyway, Laeral Silverhand. After Dornell discovered that Elue was but a vessel for Mystra, he abandoned his daughters. At which point Laeral and her sisters Storm and Dove left to travel the lands of Faerun under the guardianship of the great Elminster Aumar. Elminster helped raise these ladies until they came of age, at which point Storm and Dove chose to go their own way, whereas Laeral, however, chose to stay with Elminster as an apprentice and learn more of magic. Once she had completed her studies, she joined the Harpers for a while, leaving them when she hailed herself as the Witch Queen of Stornantor in 806 DR. Fun fact, there's very little information on the Queendom of Stornantor. I went looking for it, and there really isn't that much to say about Stornantor. It is named for the village of Stornell, or as it's shown on maps these days, Port Last. The main reason Laeral created Stornantor was to introduce law and justice to the north of Faerun and to rebuild the ruins of Ilusk, which would later become the town of Luskan. It was here, as the Witch Queen of the North, that she encountered Malik Aldhanik, her court mage. They became fast friends and very, very close until his death. You'll see why I mention this later. Laeral left her throne after Malik's death, wandering the north to search her soul as to what she could do, whether she could carry the burden of loss for the unique lifespan of powerful wizards. And so 35 years after establishing Stornantor, 25 years since she lost Malik, her grieving was interrupted when she was attacked by her eldest sister, Selûne. The two did not recognize each other as Laeral was raised separate with Elminster, but Selûne instigated their battle to overthrow Laeral as the Queen of Stornantor, as she had left her duties by the wayside and her queendom was falling apart. Selûne wished to rule in her stead to keep the peace in the north. Their battle was mighty and vicious, to the point where Mystra, the protector of the Weave of Magic herself, had to step in to stop them killing each other and decimating a small area while they were at it. It was then that Mystra revealed that they were sisters. Mystra was their mother and offered them the full power of their lineage to become a Chosen. Yeah, they never knew they were chosen. Elminster didn't know either. He was just instructed to raise Laeral and her 2 other sisters by Mystra. He just thought they were of great potential and of interest to Mystra, not that she was their mother per se. Anyhow, both sisters accepted to become chosen of Mystra, and Azuth, the lesser deity of magic, travelled with them to guide them in their new abilities. And abilities they had. This is about Laeral here, so I'm only going into hers, but the ability to know what a magic item can do without attunement, to know the magical properties of elements, the ability to dissipate magic into the weave, so any harmful effects used or magic used against her, she could channel into the weave to protect herself, and she could also disable magic items. Azuth then trained her to make her own magic items, since she now had this innate ability to discern the best materials and elements to channel magic. An ability that all Chosen receive that's worth mentioning here is Silverfire. It's a raw magic that has different abilities, though it is most used as an emergency only, as it can tamper with the weave. The main use is a beam of silver flame, 5 feet wide and 70 feet long. Any non-living object it touches is destroyed. Any living object it touches is dealt massive damage, and that's not a measurement. There is no stats for this beam, as it is not something the players could necessarily ever wield, and any damage they suffer from it is at the discretion of the DM. Remember, some things are just plot devices, not everything needs to have stats. Weavework is another Chosen ability that the Chosen have that prolongs their natural life, extending their lifespan and fitness, but also allowing them to use the weave to heal themselves and to stop the likes of poisons or diseases. And once their time with the Zeus came to an end, these are the exact abilities Laeral used to become a prolific adventurer. Donning the guise of a new adventurer every few decades to mask her Chosen status, Laeral travelled with many different groups and bands and just enjoyed herself as any with the abilities like that would, finally forming the great adventuring party known as the Nine. Now, we're going to do a time jump here from the 840s to 1337 DR as the next significant period in Laeral's life has come to pass. Laeral and the Nine managed to obtain a Netherese artifact known as the Crown of Horns. The crown was planted there by an ancient Netherese lich known as Aumar the Undying, so he could control Laeral and marry her. Laeral thought she could overpower the dark energy within, but little did she know the crown was said to be crafted by Merkel, the former god of death. When she donned the crown, its powers fought with her own, and the weaving spilt the silver fire, and it drove her insane. In her own words, "I lost Laeral and became the Wild Woman, the Witch of the North. I remember little of those years, which in many ways is a blessing." Under the influence of the crown, she enslaved and or killed the Nine. She took their stronghold for her own and wreaked havoc across the north of Faerun. During this time, somewhere between 1337 DR and 1357 DR, her first child Mora was born by an unknown father. Mora was human and apparently conceived with Mystra's blessing, though this doesn't still sit right with me. Mora would go on to aid in the creation of the hidden city of Osiriel and marry Prince Lamruel Moonflower, heir to the throne of Evermeet. After years of her enslavement to the crown and terrorizing the north, finally Khelben and the Lord Mage of Waterdeep, took notice and decided it was time to end this tirade and sought the counsel of Mystra to stop Laeral. They conspired so that servitors of Mystra would attempt to prevent as much massive damage from their no doubt amazing fight to come as possible. But wait, how did Khelben know that this wild woman was Laeral? Well, Khelben himself is a Chosen of Mystra, but besides that, he knew and was quite fond of Laeral Silverhand. See, Laeral did not know, but Khelben and she were once quite close. Remember Malik Aldenek, her court mage from Stornantor? Well, that was actually Khelben in disguise. He faked his own death to go off and deal with some prophecy. Anyway, back to the story. Khelben sundered the crown into 3 pieces during their battle, freeing Laeral from her mind control and locked the pieces away in his tower in Waterdeep. Laeral travelled with Khelben back to Waterdeep to rest after their battle. They became now inseparable, eventually leading them to be called Lord and Lady Aronson, though they never actually married. In Waterdeep is where Laeral's adventures began anew. She played a critical role in the return of the Archwizards, took on the Princes of Shade, and was solely responsible for foiling a Tiamat-worshipping shadow dragon cult from attacking Waterdeep. I wish I could do these stories justice, but I pale in comparison to Ed Greenwood and the other amazing authors who create such amazing tales for these characters. These are published stories and novels, so do yourself a favour and grab them. While in Waterdeep, she helped start the Blackstaff Academy, which is a training school for wizards. Spellcasters, make note, this may be the place for your in-game goals. Laeral really became the face of Blackstaff Tower and of power in Waterdeep. She met endlessly with nobility, figureheads and guilds and unions and established trade deals with other cities and communities. She became a true lady of the people. Her ability to mingle with anyone truly came in handy when she helped coordinate the Harpers within the Waterdeep and the surrounding regions. She dealt with the Lord's Alliance and often acted as a spy in Skullport, the pirate city beneath Waterdeep. She did so under the guise she created for herself. All the while, Khelben and Laeral were as thick as thieves, and she loved seeing the tiniest of instances of his personal growth, holding back his frustration when he had to suffer fools, or at least those he deemed fools. It is sad to say, though, that Khelben passed away in 1374 DR. He sacrificed himself alongside another great mage named Ular the Silent to cleanse and permanently restore Fair Tilmere, which was renamed to Rymanthian, the hidden city of hope. After Khelben passed, Laeral and her sister Illustriel took up residence in Candlekeep, which is on the Sword Coast south of Baldur's Gate. Candlekeep, if you don't know, is like the pinnacle of all libraries. It's the D&D version of the Grand Mystra Citadel from Game of Thrones, or what the Library of Alexandria, all Islamic libraries in the Middle Ages, and the internet would be like if there was magic. They were there in disguise until 1487 DR, quietly disarming the library's wards, runes, so that no one could use them to control the weave. This, however, was botched when the oldest and one of the most powerful liches in all of D&D history showed up and absorbed those very wards, Larlock the Shadow King. I speak a bit about him in my lich video, where you can find here. Yes. Good video, it's got a lot of info on liches, and for the Baldur's Gate fans, I mentioned Vlaakith the 172nd, Lae'zel's queen. Anyhow, Laeral, Illustrial, Elminster, and the Shrinshi, Laeral, Illustrial, Elminster, and the Shrinshi, Laeral, Illustrial, Elminster, and the Shrinshi cause Laeral, Illustrial, Elminster, and the Shrinshi cause when you are taking on Larlock you need backup, prevented his ascension to godhood. Larlock wanted to absorb the wards and drain the power of a mythal to try and become the new god of magic. After this fiasco, Laeral returned to Waterdeep, moved into Mert the Moneylender's house, and took up the role of Open Lord of Waterdeep at Mystra's request. I haven't mentioned this much at this stage, but Waterdeep is ruled by lords. Some of these are believed to be aristocrats, wealthy traders, powerful individuals, mob bosses, or even faction higher-ups. Nobody besides a few lords and the Open Lord actually know who the lords are, because they wear magical robes and masks that alter their appearance, making them look and sound exactly like one another. They rule over the city with votes and decrees and are each as powerful as each other, with the sole exception being the Open Lord, who has the ability to veto, appoint new leader or Open Lords, and vet potential new Mass Lords. This role suits Laeral to a T. As her time with Khelben at Blackstaff Tower, she was the face of the academy and a true woman of the people. This is second nature, and she has the adoration of any high society member who would be a Mass Lord, all the way down to the folks in the streets just doing their day-to-day. When Laeral took the position, she replaced Dagult Neverember from around 1489 DR. Dagult is another character we will need to get into at some point. Mystra believed that if Laeral were the Open Lord of Waterdeep, she could dissuade stigma against spellcasters should any spellcasting mishaps arise, disasters or attacks, that sort of thing. She could sway the public's favour away from blame and anger, which could lead to an all-out Templar order like in Dragon Age. She is a force to be reckoned with. And speaking of Force Grey, the organisation called in to deal with the threats that the Waterdeep City Guard cannot handle, they were reinstated to aid Laeral in her role as the Open Lord of Waterdeep. Force Grey are like the special forces, where they are called in to minimise loss of life, not necessarily minimise collateral damage, so if your players ever become their target, they have two options: surrender or die. That's the story of Laeral. She is currently still the Open Lord of Waterdeep, interacts daily with her citizens of the city, is one of the most powerful spellcasters in Faerun, and is a chosen of Mystra. As for role-playing Laeral is extremely relaxed and has full control of her faculties. Like she was an adventurer for more than half a millennia, Lady Mage of Blackstaff Academy, and has fought off god potential entities, so she is the most calm person in any room at any time in any situation. So play to this. If your party brings a crisis or a disaster to her attention, she won't panic. She will ask for answers, recommendations, seek advisors, and start work to snuff out the issue before it gets worse. She is witty, but she prefers to be friendly, so though she may want to give a retort or take the opportunity to make a joke, she would never do so at someone's expense. She's the epitome of catching more flies with honey than vinegar. That being said, she won't bend over backwards to please someone or make them like her. She will use exactly as much tact that she needs to be respected and seen as a friend. It's often mentioned that Laeral's memory and focus is beyond that of any mortal being, so maybe to switch things up, as she is a chosen of Mystra, I would give her the ability to concentrate on 2 spells at once. Gods can have more than one 9th level spell, so you best believe the chosen of Mystra, Manipulator of the Weave, Open Lord of Waterdeep, and millennia-old former Harper and Explorer can concentrate on 2 things at once. Do note, since her manipulation from the Crown of Horns, she abhors the controlling magics or forcing of folks against their will by magic. Understandably so. So should any of your party encounter her and they wield such abilities or use them to charm their way to gain an audience with her, expect a less than warm reception. Now, the tidbits. As Laeral and Khelben grew to be so close so quickly, when they returned to Waterdeep, many folks thought that she was under his mind control. Laeral never waived this notion, as it would often lead to those who would work against Khelben exposing themselves to her so that she and Khelben could foil any plans against him. Laeral's other children are Khelben and Kamara Aronson. They're twins, and Khelben was their father. I don't know how this happened, but the spelling of Force Grey is UK English as opposed to the US English spelling of Grey with an A. Despite their name coming from the Grey Hands, which are a group of dozens of highly skilled individuals who are chosen as Force Grey to deal with each specific threat. What I'm saying is, it doesn't make sense to spell it like that for US authors. Like Mussolini leaving his office light on overnight to make it look like he didn't sleep, Laeral doesn't actually need to sleep. The god Azuth taught her how to pull power from the weave to sustain her mind and body, and as such, she is always rested. She does often claim she needs a high noon or midday nap, but this is just to get some time to herself. The Seven Sisters have an interesting trait specific to them. Their hair is controllable. I don't know if that's the correct term, but essentially they can manipulate their hair like digits on a hand to grab things, write, move objects, whatever your hair or hand can do, your hair can do. Though it's not clarified whether they can use them to cast spells that require somatic components. Oh, and they can change the colour of it too. Laeral's true name, because all wizards have true names that give you power over them, is Myrune. From the mouth of Ed Greenwood himself, Laeral is a 19th level wizard, though her mastery over magic, items and powers of the weave make her much more formidable, and this is why she is a CR, or challenge rating, 19. Okay, this one isn't for Laeral, but Khelben Aronson has actually died twice. In 464 DR, he died alongside his father, defending his then wife and children from an attack by a vampire wizard, Palrin Kaith, and his fellow Faerun followers. Sorry, I needed to make sure I pronounced Faerun correctly there. She is of no relation to Johnny Silverhand. To finish, I want to highlight that so many folks in Waterdeep believe that Laeral's greatest contribution to Faerun is that she managed to temper Khelben, allowing him an open mind to curl his frustrations and make him a true power within Waterdeep. Me, I think the fact that she knows everything worth knowing, so many people not worth knowing, and the patience to learn both, that's the mark of a true leader and lady of the people. That is the video, folks. I recently released a quick gift guide for D&D players. If you want to check it out, it would be very much appreciated. Already have another video in the works. We open into this because I can't stop writing as well, and it seems so. Yeah, stay tuned for the next video. Take care, folks. Have a great day, and I'll break this down in the next one.